Game 5 of the World Championship was looked upon with expectations from the challenger Gukesh's fans because has come right with the win in Game 3, equaling the match, and now he's white again. And this time he goes back to e4. In Game 3, he had gone for d4 and played the Queen's Gambit. Ding sticks with the French, d4, d5, and this time Gukesh does not go for the move knight c3, which he went for in the first game of the match. He goes for the exchange variation. Slightly surprising ding maybe. Bishop d3, now the moves are very standard. And here c4 is a slightly interesting move. Closes out the queen side there. Bishop d6, queen e2, and we have an exchange. King takes e7 is kind of like a novelty. Bishop takes has been played in all the games so far. King takes e7, castles, rook e8, rook e1, castles. So we have again exchanges. And now, if you look at the position, white has got good bishops, but so does black. Slightly ahead in development is Gukesh. Knight d7, knight d2, h6, bishop back, and knight h5. So Ding is going to the f4 square with his knight to claim a slight advantage because d3 is also beckoning, and if this knight can jump into that hole after bishop takes pawn takes, it will be an interesting position for Ding. Gukesh goes for rook check, king moves, and g4, a very brave move because he's weakening the squares. He's losing control of g4 f4 permanently. But his ideas after knight f4, he goes for bishop g3, knight b6, and g5, activating the knight. Now after bishop d7, he just comes back with the knight. So this is something even I do not understand clearly why he went for that. Probably it stops ideas of cementing the knight with h6 g5 and space on the king side. So knight f3, rook e8, knight e5, and here comes a very critical moment. Gugesh makes a mistake and takes with the pawn. So why is it a mistake? After pawn takes, Ding gets knight d3. That knight cannot be allowed to stay. Yeah? So takes, and now Ding gets knight c4. Could Gugesh have stopped it with b3? But now the problem is rook c8. And now if you play rook c1, d4 comes. Full pressure. And if you play c4, knight d5. And black's position is almost winning. Black has a pass pawn here, and the knight is going to become active. So this is something you cannot allow, right? Which means b3 is not possible. f3 brings a bishop back to this diagonal. That's why f3 was played. Now, if Gugesh had played rook takes pawn, rook takes bishop, then after exchange, if the same thing happens, takes, he has b3, and everything is fine. If anything, black has got double pawns, even though it's passed, it's weak. So that was a small mistake by Gugesh, and Ding capitalizes with this line. He gets a connected pass pawn right in the heart of the position. But it's opposite color bishops. So there is still chance for Gugesh to, stay in the game. He plays rook e4. Now bishop c6. Rook e4 is a brave move, again activating the rook, but allowing bishop c6. And now this move, rook takes pawn, would be terrible because of rook d8. And if you play rook d4, just takes, and the pawn just promotes. So taking that pawn was not the idea of rook e4. It was just that rook d4, bishop takes, and even now you cannot take. If you take the pawn, just d2 wins, right? So the idea is the rook is active, and now king f2, and here Ding could have gone back to h5, which stops rook takes pawn. Again, d2 comes, right? But instead, Ding went for bishop c6, and now Gugesh got the pawn. So that was the only chance in this game for Ding. Gugesh didn't have any chance in this game. Ding had this chance. I'm actually surprised why he didn't go for this. Because now king e3 has to be played to stop the pawn and then take this. But now Ding would defend the pawn. And then Gugesh will probably play b3, rook c8, rook d5, and then a6. Everything is defended. It's an extra pawn. Opposite color bishops, but a comfortable advantage for Ding. And now let's say e6 attacking the bishop, bishop g4. And everything is perfect. Pawn up. He could have pressed on in this position. Still a draw because of opposite color bishops. But yeah, Ding went for bishop c6, immediately giving back the pawn. Not just giving back the pawn, now d3 pawn is also weak. After takes, this pawn is also falling. Bishop comes in, b3, king moves, and the pawn falls. So Gugesh is up by a pawn, but because there is no way to make progress with these pawns because of the opposite color of the bishops, they couldn't do much. So they just repeated here with the king moves, and it was like a draw by agreement. They repeated and drew in three moves, and exactly on reaching time control, the game ended in a draw. So now game six, Ding will be white, and the match is still tied at 2.5, 2.5, and the intrigue stays.